VP PR, Elaine Nieberding.
Hello and double, triple woohoo that you are here this evening. It's a fine April evening, well, or day, depending on where you happen to be hanging out from. As your presiding officer of the evening, I'm glad to welcome you. I'm happy we have guests here this evening, and I'll be making a couple announcements, and we'll be calling on a few others to share announcements before the meeting gets started. So first, I'm calling on David Carr, and would you update us on the upcoming webinar, mini webinar contest coming up on April the 26th, just 2 weeks away.
All right. Well, some of you have been through the clubs for a while will remember that we've done a webinar contest several years. So it was conceived of fairly back on in our history that we should have something that tested how you deliver a presentation online and how that might be different than what you would do, say, in the video speech contest, which is an official TI contest, but it's basically it's just the international speech contest delivered on video. So we're doing it slightly differently this year because this is going to lead up to a webinar contest at the VTM Con that we've been talking about. So it's going to be a 3 to 5 minute little webinar, little tiny mini webinar. So if you think of the international speech contest as being a keynote speech delivered in 7 minutes, this is a webinar you're going to deliver in 5 minutes, and you're supposed to try and create some kind of audience engagement in that compact period of time. So it's challenging, it's fun. We've done it a number of years, but this is going to be the best because you get to go on to a championship if you win at the club level. Plenty of room to sign up now. And if you don't sign up to speak, talk to me about being a judge for the contest. Privately, we still try and keep these things a little bit secret around here, but yes. Back to you, Elaine.
Thank you so much, David. Next, I'd like to let you know that coming up on Saturday, April 24th, will be another speakathon. That means, you'd like to check off a couple more speech projects? You have another opportunity to sign up. We've been providing lots of interesting, different kinds of events at our meeting this past month, and sometimes speaking slots have evaporated or changed or moved. So here's your chance to play catch up. Do consult the online signups and put your spot in. The next thing that I am really excited to talk about is VTM Con, the second round of this grand global virtual Toastmasters conference. Do many of you know that a number of the team leads for this conference are from online presenters? Raise your hand if you know some of those people. I'm going to name them. Marianne Grady is one. She is head of liaison team. David Carr is head of PR. Lucas Collefell is head of the program initiative. I'm doing a lot of global collaboration with the breakout teams. And gee, who am I missing? Anyway, we have lots of great involvement, and I do know that some of our club members have already signed up to be on teams, but be on the lookout to raise your hand to volunteer because there are more slots. And that is a good thing. With that, I think I've concluded all the announcements, but I would like to give a nice warm round of applause for the great job that the membership team did last weekend. We had nice guest visitation and a very interesting and different kind of program with amazing backgrounds. I was watching everybody last weekend. And with that, I'm gonna zip my lips and turn this back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Andre Smolenko. Welcome, Andre.
Thank you very much, Elaine. What a packed, eventful few weeks or months ahead. Don't you think we should take it easy? Well, the theme of the evening is just take it easy. From time to time, we all get stressed out. And one of the ways dealing with stress, according to the website of Michigan Medical University, is to have a nice and relaxing bath, breathe, or go for a walk. I thought that's not enough. Another way to take it easy, we should turn up at online presenters meeting and just have a nice, relaxing night. And let's see how it goes. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen tonight. And the first thing, we have exciting, not relaxing, exciting members, new members inauguration. Yes. Then we're going to a few speeches. We have two speakers today. One of them will deliver, Tricia, will deliver a speech up to 15 minutes long. Really look forward to that. And the second speaker will be speaking for about up to 7 minutes. After that, we will go to extended session of table topics or impromptu speaking, improvisation. Many people will be involved, so you can be called. Be alert. Do not take it easy. After that, a cherry on the cake, something that online presenters are really famous of, evaluation. We will have two evaluators doing their job, giving their valuable feedback to two speakers. And to wrap it all up, general evaluator will provide their feedback about what we still can improve. There is always something that can be improved. And still is packed, and let's take it easy. I'm not going to do it all by myself, of course. Perhaps I should introduce my team. Before I do that, I would like to pass this screen to VPM Lou Brown, who will do the new member introduction.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Andre. Appreciate that. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, on behalf of Online Presenters Toastmasters, it is my duty and privilege to induct Laura DeAnda into our club. This is an important occasion, both for Laura and for our club. As the experienced speakers and Toastmasters, Laura will enrich us as we strive to enrich her in a spirit of sharing and enjoyment. Together, we expand our effectiveness as dynamic leaders, presenters, and communicators. Now, Laura, please wait until I call on you to affirm your commitment to the Toastmasters promise. In the presence of fellow online presenters, do you pledge to attend meetings regularly and prepare for each assignment, to actively participate in club activities, to evaluate others in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with other fellow members, and to bring other new members into the club so that they too can gain the benefits of online presenters? Laura, please unmute and say I do.
I do.
Wonderful. To you, the current members of Online Presenters, I remind you of your pledge to support Laura in her quest for self-development and to provide her with positive, helpful evaluations, to maintain a friendly, supportive atmosphere, and to make her Online Presenters Toastmasters membership a rewarding and fulfilling experience. Congratulations, Laura. Welcome to Online Presenters. Attendees, feel free to unmute and give Laura a nice, warm welcome round of applause.
Welcome, Laura.
Welcome, Laura.
To you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Lou Brown, and very warm welcome to Laura, our new exciting member. we're not going to take it easy on you. We're here to help and help you to develop and grow with us. There are a few people who are going to help us, our new members, and us to grow and develop today. The team members who are going to help me to run this meeting nicely and smoothly. The first very important helper I would like to introduce is Timer. Timer, Lou Brown, DTM.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As timer, it is my duty to assist our Toastmaster in keeping our meeting on track according to our agenda. That includes timing each of our prepared speakers, each of our table topics presenters, and each of our evaluators, as well as folks who will give their reports at the end of the meeting. I will provide information in the chat as we go throughout the meeting and provide a final report at the end of the meeting. And I will also mention the timing of each type of speech when those situations arise. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Lou. And we're moving on to the second very important person for today is our counter, Angela Heath, our counter for the meeting.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters. The counter's responsibility is to catch you taking it easy with your language and using those filler words, the ums, the ahs, just take a pause. And I will be giving my report at the end of the meeting. My eyes are on you and so are my ears. Back to you, Mr.
Thank you, Angela. It's not very easy to take it easy with such an counter watching over us. Perhaps very important person, Butcher, who is the Jim Barber, our season club member, is doing that role. Jim Barber, please tell us about your role and why is that so important?
With pleasure, Mr. Toastmaster. As the watcher this evening, I will be, wait for it, watching you. The role of the watcher is to study everybody's video presence. Now, this is something that is illegal in many places of the world, but it's actually encouraged here at Online Presenters. I will be keeping an eye on everyone's video presence, and I'll give a report at the end of the meeting as how well we did. I think everybody's looking at it right now. Everybody's in a good shape. I do encourage you to take it easy, however, not so easy that your video presence becomes distracting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jim Barber. In case you're still wondering how to find the watcher, look at the screen. He sees you. That's for sure. And the next person who is going to help me to run this meeting tonight is our chat monitor with her unique role for online presenters. Chat monitor, Jeanette Francois.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and thank you, everybody. My role tonight is to look at what's going on in the chat, to look at all the wonderful phrases and sentences that we'll be doing or you'll be giving on the chat, and I'll do my report at the end of the evening. So back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. I suggest again, take it easy in your comments because your comments are monitored very, very closely. And that one more person, before we announce the speakers for the day, I would like to mention a very special person. Vote counter, Carl Walsh. Vote counter, Carl Walsh. Please tell us why you are going to take it easy.
Well, because my mission this evening is to alleviate your anxiety of knowing who won the votes for all the various positions. So be sure to send in chat your vote to me when instructed to. Back to you, Andre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vote Counter. And in tune with the theme of the evening, take it easy, I would like to introduce our first speaker. Then it will be the second speaker, then table topics, then evaluation, and then wrapping up. So I hope we're all getting warm up. The first speaker of the evening is Tricia Smith. Tricia is working on presentation mastery level 4, building skills, managing a difficult audience. Positive, active listening skills builds trust and respect between the speaker and the audience. Positive, non-verbal listening skills are important for receiving and understanding verbal communication presented. And let me introduce Tricia Smith with her speech, Positive versus Negative Listening. Tricia Smith.
I'm going to speak about communication skills, positive and negative listening habits. I'm going to be paying attention to my audience because as a speaker and everybody's online, I can see everybody, which is a little different than when we have the normal speaker audience. You can't see everybody necessarily. So I'm just going to confirm everybody can see me, everybody can hear me. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters friends and guests. I'm Tricia Smith. My topic is communication skills, good, positive, and negative listening habits. We all have them, right? Positive, negative listening habits. Listening is just as important as speaking. Are you a good listener? Do you know what active listening is? What is active listening? Basic rules for active listening. Using eye contact, facing the speaker, making sure you can hear and listen, being attentive, focusing, no distractions, no interruptions, no cell phones, simple rules, knowing when to ask your questions, waiting to ask those questions when the topic is in transition, when there are pauses.
But
when
why
the
do we have
speakers
to wait? I don't really understand why you would want to wait when you're talking about something.
Oh, I can't hear you anymore, Marianne. I'm so sorry, but I appreciate your input.
I am in agreement with Marianne. Oh, why should I wait if I have an answer, if I want an answer now?
All right, so let's talk about some simple rules. Basically, so that everybody benefits from listening to what I have to say, please follow these simple rules. If you have a question, wait for a pause. Please raise your hand. Do you remember being in a classroom in school, right? The teacher presents the rules at the start of the class. Why? So that everybody knows what the expectations are. Okay?
I have to disagree on that. I mean, if we know what the rules are ahead of time, you're just giving people opportunities to jump in, railroad the situation, and control things. That's what's wrong with Robert's Rules and Orders. Robert Rules is all about creating disorder when in reality we all can talk and discuss all the things we want to do. When people start saying, hey, I object to this motion because of this and this, all the thing that goes over here, no one's ever going to get anything done. Have you seen the American Senate? Nothing gets done because of Robert's Rules of Orders and things like the filibuster and all these other big words that people throw out all the time. And it just goes on and on and on. Rules ruin conversations. We should be able to interrupt and talk whenever we want to do, no matter what the other person says, because there's nothing they can do about it because they're just going to keep talking. And that's the way you win an argument. We all know that. That's the reality of the situation. Until someone says someone's name, they just are going to talk the whole time.
Thank you. Excuse me.
That is too long.
I appreciate your input very much, but do you see what just happened? You just broke one of the rules. I'm going to talk about that. If you give me a chance, I'm going to talk and address just what happened. So thank you for being that example. We had an interrupter, and actually, I'd have to say one of them was probably a rebuttal maker who likes to argue their point. So if you could please remain quiet for a few minutes and give me a chance to finish, hopefully everybody will benefit. But thank you for giving good examples of what is the topic? Listening skills. Were those examples of good active listening skills? I say not. Let's continue. Okay, thank you. So everybody else looks like they're being active listeners. Thank you for your eye contact and your focus and your attentiveness and your stillness and your quietness while the speaker speaks. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and I'll take time to answer them. And if you get through a little more information, okay? So what do you need to listen to as an active listener? The vocal quality, the tone, the volume, my nonverbal gestures. You can give nonverbal gestures as a listener, but should you give speaking gestures, verbal gestures? Not yet.
I'm sorry, I
not
just
yet.
feel like we're back in kindergarten. You know,
Thank you.
everybody must just be feeling about that today. I don't know why. Like, what is this speech about? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Let me clarify it for you. Active listening.
Nah.
Active listening is just as
You lost
important
me.
as speaking. It's a two-way street, and respect is a key word. Respect
Yeah,
for the
but you gotta
speaker
commit.
and respect
And
for the
you're
listener.
not. You're just talking to us like kindergartners.
Yeah, and I don't think
We're-
you're,
Is there
we're adults
something
here.
else
I
you
mean,
would like
come
to
I don't
add?
think you're respecting us, Tricia.
Go ahead. Do you have something else you would like to add about being a good active listener? Anybody? We can change the topic. I don't have to just speak. Let's do a question and answer. So what is a better way to talk about active listening? Elaine, would you like to add to that?
No, I really like watching Carl change his screen around. It's much more entertaining than what you're talking about. I mean, really.
So
I mean, this is an advanced audience, and you know,
topic-
I'm sorry. Like we've heard all this before. So
Okay, then let's practice it. Let's see how well everybody can practice being an active listener for a few more minutes. Okay? If I were giving out prizes right now, thank you, Jim Barber. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, David Carr. Thank you, everybody else that has not interrupted. Just give me a few more minutes and we will get through this. And then I'm happy to take any more comments that you have.
Before you go too much further, this is great material and it's a very important topic. I agree, active listening is very important, but this is kind of ivory tower. It's theoretical. You say that we should wait for a pause. I've met some people that if you wait for them to pause before you say anything, you never get a chance to say anything at all. Also, you want us to raise our hand. You want me to raise my hand next time I want to talk to my wife? I want to, dear, would you get me a beer from the refrigerator? I don't think so. I wouldn't live very long. So this sounds like a very good thing to do, but I'm really not sure that it works in the real world. And furthermore, I'm just going, this is, I like this. I like the whole concept, but really, I mean, you know, can we make this real world? I have to disagree with Elaine, though. This is not kindergarten stuff. This is very important, but I would like to get it, make it a little more real world.
All right. Thank you for that point. And you're right. You would not have to raise your hand if you were talking one-on-one to your wife. And I definitely wouldn't recommend you to do that.
I would like to
probably
point
would
out for the
agree.
benefit of Jim that The Real World was a television show on MTV that ran for roughly 30 years. The anniversary is coming up now, and they actually took the original cast, brought them back to New York to see, are they still real and able to go through all the interactions and stuff they're going through. It's really juicy stuff. Subscribe to Paramount Plus if you want to see wonderful content like that.
So one of the things about being an active listener is knowing the importance of the topic that's being presented and how it relates to you. So just keep that in mind, please. Let's talk about 5 things or more that involves good listening and communication. Being empathetic, being patient, being positive, having a caring attitude, and respecting each other's roles. That's important. How about the negative listening habits? And we've seen several examples in this meeting so far. The faker. I don't think we've seen a faker yet. A faker. If you're a faker, you're pretending like you're listening. You're even looking at me as the speaker, but you're thinking about what you want to do next. You're not listening. It's going in one ear and out the other. Maybe it's happening. The interrupter. We've definitely had some interrupters here. The interrupter is trying to get their point of view. They can't wait to talk. They always have something to say, and that's what they're thinking about. They're not letting the speaker complete what they're speaking about, so they get their own interpretation on it, on the topic. The rebuttal maker. We definitely had some examples of that. Someone who likes to argue. They're always listening just to the point to get something to argue about and take away from what the speaker is saying and use those words against them. Yes, I felt offended. I had to be on defense. The focus thief. They like to talk about themselves. I haven't heard anybody do that yet. If somebody was telling me a story about their experience and I said, but wait till you hear about what happened to me. That would be an example. Or the advice giver. If you know anybody who's an advice giver, I guess I can be an advice giver during this meeting by addressing the poor listening habits that we've witnessed. But my mom is an advice giver. She never listens to the complete story. She only listens to just what the topic is, and she has an answer because she's trying to solve a problem for me that she hasn't even listened to the whole story about. So I ask you, everyone here, are you using good active listening? Do you have good communication skills? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tricia. I don't know how you survived all that. There was quite a few moments when I just wanted to say, take it easy. So quite a few intruders to your speech. That was a joy to see. That was a joy to watch. And before we move on to our second speaker, I would like to introduce one more very important person for this evening. Without that person, our evening would not go nice and smooth, and we would learn very little. Grammarian of the evening is Mary Durling, DTM. Mary, please tell us about your role and why is that so important?
Yes, thank you. My role as grammarian is to listen to good examples of speech and maybe some of those that need just a little bit of tweaking and giving you some ideas. I started during the introductions, so I already have some examples of good speech. I will give a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Madam Grammarian. Really look forward to it. I suppose it's about time to introduce our second speaker. Our second speaker of the evening is Richard Durling, DTM, and his speech, Wake Me If You See Something You Don't Like. Rick is working on his dynamic leadership level 1, mastering fundamentals, evaluation and feedback is his second speech in this path. Rick joined Toastmasters in 2013 and has a thirst for learning and adventure. Rick has started his third path, dynamic leadership, and he is delivering the second speech. The speech is focused on the learning adventure Rick and his wife Carol shared sailing a 50-foot catch through the busy shipping channel between St. John's and St. Croix at night. Well, let's welcome Rick Durling and his speech, Wake Me If You See Something You Don't Like. Rick Durling.
It's dark. It's so dark, I can't even see my hand in front of my face. The rain has started, and it's dripping off the bimini straight down my back. I can hear the wind has gotten up to at least 20 knots at this point, because I can hear it blowing through the rigging. And waves, yeah, there were waves too, probably around 5 footers. And as the bow broke through those, the bow spray was coming back and soaking down everything that the rain didn't get to. It's at this point that my captain, who is sitting to my right in darkness, says, I'm going below to sleep. Wake me if you see something you don't like. Good evening, fellow online presenters and welcome guests. This situation is where my wife and I found ourselves as a result of falling in love with sailing. You see, we got the opportunity to go with friends on inland lakes and go on their sailboats and have a nice gentle breeze push us across the lake and sit on that boat with a glass of wine and watch the sun set. Absolutely an awesome experience. And in those experiences, we learned about a sailing paradise in between the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands. And we were hooked. Our first plan then was to get classes to allow ourselves to go there and rent a sailboat. Fortunately, we found a class in St. Croix, Christiansted, that gave us what we needed. 3 days of sailing lessons, followed by 5 days of cruising around the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands. We took off and spent 3 days sailing around Christiansted Harbor on a 20-foot sailboat. That's basically a mast, a couple of seats, and a rudder. We learned to run into the wind. We learned to run with the wind. We even learned how to run aground. It was glorious. And we graduated with honors, and we graduated to a 50-foot catch. Now, the difference between a catch and a regular sailboat is the addition of a mast near the stern of the boat. So there's 2 masts. But in all respects, these boats operate the same as any other sailboat. And our captain, our first job was to sail from Christiansted on St. Croix to St. John's. It's about a 40-mile sail. We'll be out in open water, and we took off at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. About 4.5 hours later, St. John appeared right where it was supposed to be. We sailed around St. John into the Sir Francis Drake Passage. This is an open body of water in between the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands, and it is a sailing paradise. There is constant wind, and on any side, in any direction, are beaches and places to drop a hook. We spent an hour or so learning additional sailing activities, and then dropped into one of those wonderful bays on St. John's, where there's a perfect white sand beach. And we had the opportunity to jump off the boat and do some snorkeling. And upon returning, our captain, who was rapidly becoming our friend, had dinner waiting for us. And again, we got to sit on the stern of that boat and watch as the sun set. It was glorious. We spent the next several days doing exactly the same routine, sailing for several hours during the day, finding a beautiful bay to settle into, and watching the sun go down. On our last day, our job was to get back to St. Croix, but we needed to do that at night. So we sailed around St. John's, and we went into Loamshire Bay. Now, Loamshire Bay on St. John's is a beautiful bay. It's surrounded by the St. John's National Forest, and it's trees from the water all the way to the mountaintops. It's gorgeous and devoid of all life. There's no houses, no lights, nothing. We set up there at about 1 in the afternoon and promptly went to bed. And our captain woke us up around midnight and told us it was now our job to sail out of that bay and successfully to St. Croix. Now, the only thing we had going for us was a compass, and we decided what direction we needed to go, and we were successful in getting out of that bay without running aground. And that's why I knew when I was getting rain down my back, and I was sensing the winds were already at 20 miles an hour, and I was getting wetted down by the bow, that's when I knew we had successfully gotten out of Loamshire Bay. And thoughtfully, our captain, and now our friend, made that remark. I'm going below to sleep. Wake me if you see anything you don't like. It's so dark I can't even see my hand in front of my face. I don't know how he expected I was going to see anything. But my wife and I went off with our sailing, and we headed for St. Croix in Christiansted. And as we got out further into that open water, the waves definitely got higher. And we would sink down into those waves and then rise back up. And on the horizon, there was this very bright light that was obviously coming towards us, but back down into a deep trough and back up. And now it's resolved into this enormous and gorgeous cruise ship that seems to be coming directly towards us. Back down into that wave. And when we came back up, the cruise ship had turned off to head to St. Thomas. We continued our sail. It was absolutely amazing to be standing at the wheel and have not only a trickle, but a full shower going down my back. But we persevered, and in the morning, as the dawn broke and the weather began to subside, there was St. Croix and Christiansted Harbor, exactly where it was supposed to be. We sailed into the harbor, put the boat away, and celebrated a complete, successful learning adventure, and discovered just how beautiful cruising on your own sailboat can be. We spent many, many vacations now sailing in and around those islands, and I can tell you, those are some of the finest memories I have in my life. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Rick. I felt relaxed, then excited, relaxed and excited. What a beautiful bumpy ride that was. And we continue with the meeting. I would like to ask our timer, Mr. Lou Brown, whether both speakers qualify for voting.
Sorry, Mr. Toastmaster, I was just putting the times in the chat. Would just like confirmation from Tricia that your speech was 12 to 15 minutes. Is that correct? Okay, very good. Tricia came in at 10:04, Rick at 7:25.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Timer. And still, I suggest you can vote. You can send your votes for the best speaker that you like to a vote counter. So please do it in the chat box. Next part of the evening, we're getting closer to table topics. Before I pass this virtual stage to our table topics master, I would like to leave you with one more gift: how to take it easy, how to relax, suggested by Michigan Medical School. And that's right. Some people feel more relaxed after they write about their feelings. So one way is to relax, just to write and keep a journal. What a wonderful tip from Michigan University of Medicine. I suppose with that tip in your minds, I pass it on to Lu Singh, our table topics master of the evening. Lu Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. The table topic speech intends to help members develop the skills to organize the speech quickly and think on their feet. So in the spirit of take it easy, the topic today will be around the stress, discussion about stress and how we alleviate our stress and live a balanced life. The question will mostly go to our guests who are willing to participate, or the members who have not serving or are not serving any roles. With that, my first question will go to our guest, Carol Durling. The question is, to alleviate our stress, we all need some me time or do nothing day. So what do you do in your me time or do nothing day? Carol.
Good evening, everyone and guests. I do enjoy me time. We call it a gnaw day. Am I going to go cut the grass? Nah. Am I going to go make dinner? Nah. am I going to go make the bed? Nah, that's a nah day. And in those nah days, I enjoy reading. I enjoy yoga. Yoga helps rejuvenate me, both reading and yoga. I like to get involved with things where I'm learning. Something about learning, even if I'm actively reading and getting engaged with it and taking notes, something about learning invigorates me. Yoga rejuvenates me. And those are two of the things I like to do most when I have my me time on a nah day.
Thank
And
you.
table time.
Thank you, Carol. The next question goes to our guest, Hector. The question is, how do you balance your work and life? Hector, are you available?
Thank you very much for that question, Madam Table Topics Masters. How do I balance my life and my work? I have no idea how to achieve that. I believe that it's an ideal that is really hard to get to. I have an open schedule. The company doesn't tell me what time I have to start and what time I have to end. They just tell me what I need to accomplish by the end of the month, of the quarter, and I manage my time. I end up many times working past the regular 8 hours. What I try to do, at least, to keep some level of balance. Sometimes the balance goes to the work when I have very tight deadlines. And sometimes I try to balance a little bit more to the family side and my personal life. I keep a minimum on my family. I try to sleep 8 hours a day, which I don't accomplish, but on the weekends, if I'm going to be honest with everyone. But I try to give a minimum time to my family that I will never compromise. And other than that, I tried during the weeks before the big deadlines to be giving more time to my family than to my work outside the regular 8-hour days. I still am not there where I could say this is completely level, this is completely balanced. I try to keep some time myself to walk out the stress out of my head and try to stay afloat. But it's still a very constant huddle and ideal just to keep it somewhat at the end of the week, still kind of balanced. Thank you.
Thank you, Hector. We all struggle in balancing our life and work. Our next question goes to Sai. The question is, what are you going to suggest a 16-year-old boy how to handle his stress, how to alleviate his stress? Sai.
Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and my dear friends and online presenters. I'm happy to be back after a long time, but even when I'm back after a long time, I'm back as the youngest person in this audience. And that means the person that's most closely related to a 16-year-old is the person that you're listening to. That is me. I'm just 7 years older than the person that I want to advise, and that becomes way too easy for me because I know the exact mood swings that happen in that age. I believe when I go back 7 years and I look at my younger self, this is what I would say. I would say every day is unique. You need to plan for the future, but you should not let your imagination drive today. You need to take lessons from the past, but you should not leave your regrets of the past rule you today. When opportunity knocks, we are either out or slipping in. That is because we are either caught in the remorse of the past or the imagination of the future. We do not live the present. The present is all that you have. My dear friend, I believe that you have a lot of years in your life. Your life is just beginning. You're just 16. You got 2 more years to go to college. You got 6 more years to graduate. And you have a lot to live. Just take this advice. But mind you, when you reach 18, just do one more thing. Just join a club called Online Presenters Toastmasters. That will also help you relieve your stress and stay in the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai. Very great advice. Live at the present and join Toastmaster Club. Our fourth question goes to Amila Woody. Amila, here is your question. Do you think social media alleviate our stress or intensify our stress? Why? Amila.
Social media, a blessing or a curse? Social media has got two sides to the coin, in my opinion. It's what you do with it and how you embrace it. As adults, I think most adults are still not as engaged with social media, so they are like, it doesn't really matter. So for me, I think social media is really a tool. But if you let it take over your life and become your master, then of course you're going to get stressed because you check all the alerts. And it's like somebody on drugs. They can't sleep because they've got to check what's happening. And then, oh no, I forgot this, I missed this. So that will be a problem. But if you're using social media as an enabler and you're continuing to live your life, i.e., if your social media and everything is taken away and you're so happy, then social media is not going to control you. It's easier said than done, but I think for everybody to try that, just take a social media fast. Start with 24 hours, then 48 hours. And you will see for yourself that you can control it so it doesn't become the nuisance that most people think it's becoming in society. Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, Amelia. So we all should take this advice. Use social media only as a tool, not let it control our life. The next question goes to Lucas. So Lucas, how do you alleviate the stress in your work life?
Thank you for that question. Part of alleviating stress from work life involves organization primarily. At least I can say that much for myself. By being organized and trying to plan things out as best as possible, I have an idea of what to expect either today, in the coming days, or even towards the end of the month. By organizing myself and seeing what's ahead, I can alleviate stress by planning strategically and doing the things I need to do just little by little, eventually leading to that deadline of whatever report I may have or whatever the thing might be. The other thing when it comes to relieving work stress is by doing the things that you enjoy. You have to do those things and not lose track of doing things that you enjoy, that are within your reach to do, that do not consume too much time or resources, whether that's reading, yoga, even binging a show on Netflix or whatever streaming service you use. It's kind of, I don't think many people use only one. But apart from that, it's important to, from my perspective, to organize yourself, try to plan ahead, and do the things that you enjoy that help you relieve stress in general. Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, Lucas. Planning ahead and do things little by little. That's what I haven't been doing, but I still have a lot of stress in my life. The next question goes to Roxanne. Roxanne, what is your suggestion to a 16-year-old girl as for how to alleviate her stress?
A 16-year-old girl with stress may just have to get away a little more often from her brothers, because I suggest that that's the source right there. What's a 16-year-old girl doing with stress? Come on now. You were 16. That's the time of your life. That's when you've got your puppy love going on, or for some these days, it's more like middle school, but you know, we're having our first flutters and blushing when boys go by, and we're having all our birthday parties with our girlfriends. Life is good. Everybody's offering to carry our books when we walk, and we're butting into this whole new world where we're discovering our powers. You know what powers I'm talking about, ladies. You know, the man might turn the head, but the lady controls the neck, and we start finding this out real early. So a 16-year-old girl with stress probably has brothers on both sides of her, older brothers and younger brothers. I would say to that girl, honey, find a way to get away from them once in a while. Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, Roxanne. You must have very happy time when you are young. Do I still have time for another question or not, Mr. Toastmaster?
Well, thank you very much, Blessing. So I think we better move on with the rest of the evening.
Okay. Also, we have 1 minute. Okay. So our next question, last question, goes to Antoinette.
Madam Table Topics Master, we are moving to the next item. So that means the end of the Table
That's
Topics
fine.
Master. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Well, thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master. What an insightful and well-researched table topic session. Thank you. Many of us just took it easy. Before we move on to the next item, please pay attention to Timer Lou Brown message in the chat box about times for all the speakers. It looks like all speakers qualified. Is this correct, Mr. Timer?
Yes, it is, Mr. Toastmaster, and thank you very much to our VPE for pointing out the challenge with timing Tricia's speech and how that works, because that would have been challenging for me to turn it on and off and on and off, so thank you for that. And yes, to repeat, all speakers qualify for table topics, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Timer. Again, we have 2 speakers, all qualified for voting. Please send your vote to your vote master. And it looks like now it's about time to move to the next part, unless VP Christian would like to make an announcement.
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick announcement. I'd like to remind everyone Toastmasters is where we learn by doing, by making mistakes. And that's the best thing about Toastmasters. Why? Because I saw a lot of comments on one of the speeches. The downside to it was the comments were coming in as other people were speaking. So please be aware of the core value of respect to speakers. Having said that, the speech in itself, the speech project in itself that Toastmasters Tricia took on is a challenging one, because she had to manage a disruptive audience. And the overall time is 10 to 15 minutes. That is clear in the speech project. It's a lesson learned. I'm looking forward to that speech project, and I'm in no hurry of doing it. I hope that clears all concern. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Christian, for explaining that. It's all in the past, everyone qualified, and we trying to take it easy. Sometimes things don't go according to the plan. Never mind. According to the University of Michigan Medical Department, to take easy, you can use guided imagery. With guided imagery, you imagine yourself in a certain setting that helps you feel calm and relaxed. It reminds me about online presenters. And with that in mind, calm and relaxed setting, I'm going to pass this virtual stage to General Evaluator. Emily Thompson, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, Andre. Next up, we have the secret sauce of Toastmasters. In this secret sauce, we are going to do the evaluations, where the speeches that were heard just recently are going to be evaluated by our top evaluators. Our first evaluator is going to be Marianne Grady, and she is evaluating the speech of Tricia Smith on positive versus negative listening. Marianne Grady, please.
I don't think I was her evaluator. I was evaluator 1 and speaker 1 backed out. And so I think it was speaker 2 and evaluator 2.
Thank you. That I believe then I'm going to need
That's
help.
me.
Is that Deborah Carr? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Our first evaluator, I beg pardon, is Deborah Carr, and I'm going to go do my homework and figure this out. Deborah Carr.
It's easy to do. This is one of those nights that's kind of like scrambled eggs, but we're going to alleviate all of those issues. Tricia, what a wonderful, wonderful speech. You did a great job, and I need to get into gallery view. There we go, so I can see you. You just did an absolutely fabulous job, I felt. And the interesting thing about, excuse me, about evaluating this speech is we're not supposed to take a look at the content at all, as much as we are, you know, how you work with the people in the crowd and their concerns. So with 5 to 7 minutes for the speech and up to then 10 to 15 to finish it out, I fell right into the qualifications. That's why I jumped in on that, because everyone was voting. But I'm supposed to address professional behavior, how respectful you are with the audience, and how you can refocus the group more than anything else. The behavior, what I saw that when people were starting to jump in, you pulled back, which was very good, and then you addressed the issue. What I also saw was that you were respectful for the most part of all of it, really all of it, and even though that you felt challenged at sometimes, I saw that sometimes your vocal variety would vary a bit, but then you would pull it back. And the very best thing is you came back with questions of how would Elaine, well, Elaine, how would you handle this? And it really stops it. What I also noticed is it stops all the gibberish going. I also noticed that when you would pull back, they would get quiet, which is the whole essence of what to do. It's kind of like children arguing and fighting, and then once you get quiet, they're kind of looking around because they don't know what they're supposed to do next. And then they just quieted right down. The other thing is when you refocus the group, like I said, you were asking questions of like, how about and what if? In different times you repeated how about, but if you can even turn that into what if, that would even help a little bit further, I felt. Your voice did increase a couple times, and when you can just pull back and speak a little bit softer, that's the key, once again, to working with a group like this. And to challenge yourself, what I'd like you to do is consider the power of the pause, because when you just stop, or when you slow down even your discussion, and when you speak softer, you can see how the dynamics change. So if you can consider that. The other thing is, like anything, don't mention your glasses when you first come in, because who cares? We're here, we're ready for you, and you did a great job. I'm glad I got to evaluate you.
Thank you, Deborah Carr. Excuse me. And this Michigander is going to try not to make a goose of myself this time. Pardon me. Graham Cairns is our evaluator for Rick Durling's speech. Wake me if you see something you don't like. Graham Cairns, take it away, please.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Ladies and gentlemen, and particularly, of course, Rick, this was an excellent example of storytelling. The presentation, and I'll talk a little about that later, but I loved his use of the background of the boat. There were some extraordinarily good gestures during his presentation. And actually, that was one of the suggestions that was made to Rick when he gave this speech, or at least a variation on it earlier. He was told to move more, especially with staging, and to keep his gestures within frame. So I'm assuming that perhaps he was seated last time and the gestures went outside the frame. Well, he achieved that beautifully today, probably because he stood, which gave room for bigger gestures, and it gave him the ability to make us feel part of what he was doing. One minor observation, not just for Rick, but for everybody. At one stage, Rick spoke specifically about the captain being on his right-hand side, and he gestured with his right hand. But from your perspective, right. The audience is seeing this in reverse. So just remember that when you're using gestures. Also, because this club is at its heart about online presentation, Rick might have used the technology a little better. For example, changing that delightful background to the cruise ship that was coming towards him in the middle of the night, which would have been quite terrifying, I have to tell you, or to the island that they stopped at halfway. Just a little change. It's not hugely important, but it's just we can use the technology, and that's what we're supposed to be learning here in online presenters. But while I would like to have seen a little more of a message, using the story as a framing device for a bigger message, that is learning to stretch, learning to trust your gut, as a story, this made me want to be with Rick on the boat during these travails with the water dripping down the back. Now, I get seasick in a bathtub. I joined the Navy and took my first legal opportunity to leave because I was wasting both my time and Her Majesty's serving as a sailor. And so I don't much like sailing except on these whopping great cruise ships like the one that tried to run them down in the middle of the night. But I wanted to be on that boat because it sounded exciting. It sounded like I could learn to stretch and grow and develop. And Rick, as a storyteller, there is nothing more that you could do than to make us want to be with you. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Graham. Though we had two wonderful evaluations. Thank you both. Now I'm going to ask Lou Brown for our timers report on our evaluator. And Lou Brown is ahead of us, ahead of me here. And I understand from the report that Graham qualified. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, and Deborah did too.
Okay, right. All right, thanks. You know, it's hard to do math while you're still here. While you're up here, it's like, wait a minute, plus or minus 30 seconds. Okay, so if people would please vote for the best evaluator of the day by sending your vote to Carl Walsh. That will be spiffy. While you're doing that, I would like to get reports from our meeting facilitators. Our first facilitator is Mary Dilling as grammarian. Mary, would you file your report, please?
Yes, Madam General Evaluator. I will start with Andre. I loved his cherry on the cake. And Elaine, your dynamic evening. And Emily, your Michiganders, your secret sauce, make a goose of me. Now you mentioned goose and 2 gooses. It's geese, plural geese. Okay. Lou Brown, enrich her as she enriches us. Carol, nade. Oh, I love that. And then invigorate and rejuvenate. Let's see, Patricia. Let's see. The topic in transition, nonverbal gestures. You were very, very creative. One thing, this is not exactly speech, but I learned, especially with an international audience, when you're using a finger, use 2. When you're pointing, always use 2 versus 1, because in some cultures, 1 finger is offensive. So it's best to use 2 when you point. See, BDC, rules run the, I can't remember. I was writing, y'all were interrupting and everything. Okay, Rick. Can't see the hand in front of my face, blow through the rigging, a nice gentleness breeze pushes across the lake, rapidly becoming our friend, devoid of all life. I would suggest instead of life, use habitation, because I'm assuming there were plants and animals, and that's life. So devoid of habitation.
Madam Grammarian, can you wrap up your report, please? We have a minute for each of these reports.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Discovering our powers. Anyways, there were lots of excellent.
Thank you for your excellent and detailed report. Thanks, Mary Ruth. Our next facilitator is the watcher, and Jim Barber is the watcher. 1 minute, please. Thank you.
Yes, Madam General Evaluator. First of all, kudos to everybody. Everyone was well centered in the frame. Everybody was well lit. Congratulations. I expected nothing less. Special kudos, as Graham already mentioned in his evaluation, special kudos to Rick for a background that supported his speech but did not override his speech. Also, in general, several people used the VTM Con background. Several people used the Take It Easy theme. Several other people used an Eagles or Winslow, Arizona theme, which was sort of a visual pun. Kudos to you there. I like that. So one thing that you might want to be aware of, and some people may not be, is that the latest version of Zoom 554 gives you the capability of, let's see if I can do it here, having a blurred background. Notice, for example, if I do that, of course it's not doing it. There it goes. Okay. You can see that that gets rid of a distracting background. You do need the latest version of Zoom, though, to do that. And you might want to go in that direction. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jim. Our next facilitator is our counter, Angela Heath. Angela, 1 minute, please, for your report.
Madam General Evaluator, I will save you some time because I have nothing to say. You guys did not use ums and ahs. You did so well. I just want to point out 2 people in particular. Tricia, with all of that commotion going on, you never used a filler word. Congratulations. And Carol, I loved how you used your pauses. You had a space where you could have stuck a filler word in, but you refused to do it. Excellent, guys. I have nothing to report. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Counter. Our next facilitator is our chat monitor, Jeanette Francois. Can you keep your comments to 1 minute, please?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. General Evaluator. Tonight we had a wonderful evening with the chat, lots of exchanges. And the theme of tonight was take it easy. So I took a few words that I found in the chat, and I saw I had fake it easy, fake it easy. My wife could testify to my faker habits. Love the Eagles. Somebody commented on the Eagles, especially the Take It Easy album. And there was also a reminder for the webinar contest and also for the speakathon. And I saw one more thing on the chat. It says one goose, two gooses, saying geese is not for losers. So thank you. We had a wonderful evening. Back to you, Mrs. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Jeanette Francois. It is now time for my report. And for my report, luckily we've had very good reports ahead of me and not too much needs to be said. One, I had 3 brief points. The first is the word of the day was not announced, and I believe that it might have been alleviate, and that's fine. I think it was alleviate because I heard Lee Sang Zhu say it approximately a bunch of times, and so I figured out what the word of the day was. It was announced unofficially, I will say, in that case, and occasionally that happens. We did have voting confusion, and the confusion allowed a lot of chat to go by before it was actually solved by our Vice President Education. I would recommend a very clear statement: all speakers have qualified, or only one has qualified. I think that was taken care of. Additionally, we had in the chat a manners confusion with Tricia's fabulous talk getting interrupted orally by interrupters who were planted in the audience. We also had people harassing her in the chat. Although we don't normally encourage people to post in the chat while there's a speech going on, it did rather seem to me that that was in line with the topic of her speech, which was to deal with interruptions. So I think it was sort of okay. And then people didn't do it for the next speech. So ends my report, and I'm going to ask the vote counter, Carl Walsh, to reveal the winners, please.
Winners are in the chat. Best speaker is Rick. Toughest and most positive speaker is Tricia. Best table topic speaker, Cy. And best evaluator, Graham.
Thank you very much, Yep, okay, I got it. Mr. Vote Counter, and thanks to all our participants. And now I need to hand it back to our Toastmaster of the meeting, Andrei Smolenko.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. Woof, what a meeting. Let's take it easy. What I like online presenters, no matter what, with a bit of evaluation, confusion, enthusiasm, and just take it easy. I would like to pass the meeting on to our Madam Presiding Officer of the evening, VPPR, Elaine Nieberdin.
Indeed. What an amazing, dynamic, boisterous evening. Our guests had plenty of entertainment, for sure. I'd like to make 2 quick announcements before I invite everyone to stay afterwards with our VP of Membership, Lou Brown, who will be presiding for frolicking conversation and feedback on the evening. My 2 announcements are this. Next Monday, the 19th of April, our VPE Christian Ramchurn will be hosting from 6:30 to 7 p.m. Eastern Zoom Master Intro Training. This is a great time to develop some new skills so you can be part of our Zoom Master Care team here. This is not training for Zoom Mastering VTMCon. That's another whole thing. So that is the first announcement, and Christian will be hosting things like this nearly every month. The second thing is A new Toastmaster year is coming up soon, so there will be elections for a new slate of officers. Could we interest you to see yourself in a position on our executive board? You will learn a lot. You will grow. And this is such a fun, fine family. Why not consider nominating yourself or pass along an idea for someone else to Lois Margolin? I will put her link in the chat. It's 9:01, time for me to zip my lips and say sayonara. Stick around for after hours fun. So long, everyone.